Hi, everyone. I'm Priscilla Steffen, intuitive business strategist. Happy to be with you here for our Soul Profit Circle guest expert interview with Therese Skelly. Got a lot to say about Therese. I was introduced to her, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe, Therese, through Angela Johnson. And I came to you because I was literally having panic attacks before sales conversations. No kidding. Like, I was hyperventilating, and I knew that in order to sustain and grow a business, I had to create a different relationship to selling. That's not necessarily the focal point of what we're talking about today, but Therese helps us stay happy in business. She wears many hats, but really works with the mindset, the messaging, the marketing, and really helping you clear the blocks that are in the way of you really sharing your message with the world and building a business model that really supports you. She also has a very powerful story around money herself, which is why I wanted to share this with you, because having gone through what she went through and still came up very successful on the other side is a testament that no matter what you've gone through, your past does not have to dictate your future by any stretch of the imagination. So hi, Therese.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. All these years later, you're now a selling rock star, right? I love it.
Well, selling is a really fun experience, and I never thought I would say that, and I definitely owe that to you. I will scream your praises off the rooftops forever, because it was really a life-changing 3 months that we went through at that point. And I was like, oh my gosh, if everyone knew this, they'd be selling shit all over the place.
Oh, I know, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's start with just your story. And I know that you were a psychotherapist for a long time. You live now in Arizona, and you've gone through a lot to get to helping people the way you help them now. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about your background and also your relationship to money, your story around money, your bankruptcy, if you'd like to share that, which is kind of fundamental, and the lessons that you've learned as a result of that.
It's so good. It's so good. All right. So let's see. I was a psychotherapist. That means I had a master's degree counseling, and I did private practice for years and years and years. But what's different about having a private practice, at least when I did it, it wasn't really a business. It was really the hobby thing. Because at the time I was married, I had 2 small kids, and this was my marketing. Ready? I'd go, please God, I need a client. Like, that was all I knew, right? And so I knew nothing. I have the therapy background. I actually was a prison guard. I worked in criminal justice system. I worked in the therapy world with addicts and crazy couples fighting. And so there was zero part of me that knew anything about business, because I literally never worked in corporate. Well, I was 18. I worked in an insurance company as a receptionist and sucked. But as an adult, I didn't ever really do anything in business or corporate. So I had been in therapy practice for years, and I got the hit that I should do life coaching. But, Priscilla, that's not a big jump. That's just asking a little bit of a different question, or, instead of going to the past, you go to the future. That was super easy. And I had gone in like 2002 or something. I went to a networking group. And back then, when you show up as a coach in 2002, they would say, what, golf, tennis? Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody even knew what that was. So I went to this networking group, and I decided, and you'll appreciate this, that I was shy. And we're going to giggle because I'm really not shy, but I felt really awkward networking and talking about what I did as a coach, because as a therapist, I never had to do that. So we got on this mailing list from them, and there was a little article or an ad that said business coaches wanted. And this is the first time, and this is a really important part of the story, the first time I ever remember listening to my soul and overriding the little crazy voices in my head that were like, what the hell? Like, what? You? Because if anybody would have vetted me, there's no way anybody would say, oh, sister, you like totally should be a business coach. Because, like I said, I had never worked in business. I never read a business book. I literally didn't know how to do a spreadsheet. I thought Excel was a phone company. I'm like the last person in the planet that should be going, I should be a business coach. But my soul knew, right? So I get this application, and I'm, crazily going, oh shit, I fill it out. And the next day I'm a business coach. And it was with a very reputable, it wasn't some like internet minister kind of thing. It was a very reputable coaching company. And the gift of that is a couple of things. I got great mentoring, training. I mean, they just took really good care of me in terms of they saw something in me. They knew that I had this great potential. And the other gift is that I bumped into my shit all over the place. And so, for example, that's where I learned, like, hark, I don't know how to sell. Even though I have the best script from the best sales trainers in the country, I can't sell. And so what I realized is it's not about the externals. It's not about the scripts and the strategies and the formulas. It really became like, what is going on inside of me that I'm not able to ask somebody for money, or I'm not able to stand up and own my value. So here's timeline. Okay, so I became a business coach in probably 2003 or 4. My husband at the time decided in about 2005 that he didn't want to be married anymore. And that was difficult because here's backstory. He made a bunch of money. And the backstory is, and we were like little kids. We never managed, never budgeted, because there was always just a boatload of money. So I end up a divorced woman now with a huge alimony, and I'm still living a 6-figure lifestyle, even though my business isn't generating it. My life, because of the alimony, and I did have some clients, but so I was like, I never dialed it back. It never occurred to me, like, you have this much in savings and it's gonna go. I was really unconscious about money because I was never taught anything in my family. I was the child of the 60s where we had, like the women just didn't really talk about money or deal with money. Our mothers just were more the housekeepers, housemakers, whatever. I can't even say that word. So, those women. And so I get a divorce, and this is the first part of the story, right? I get a divorce, and my son, Danny, at the time was 12. And we're driving by this really swanky area in Scottsdale. So I've been divorced 1 year. Driving by this really cool area, and I say to him, hey, Danny, see, it's called Gainey Ranch. There's this like resort spa, racket club, awesome spa thing. And I said, Danny, maybe if I get married again, my husband will have enough money, and then we could be members there and you could play basketball. And he looked at me with all the wisdom of a 12-year-old little Buddha, just said, or why don't you just earn the money? And I was like, oh shit. Like, oh, good God, there is a Cinderella living in me. Oh, sweet Jesus. Like, I had no idea, right? Because in my marriage, I was the strong one. I was the one, while Jim made the money and just turned the check over, I made all the decisions. I was the feminist. I was, the budding entrepreneur. And I'm like, well, maybe a husband will save me. And I'm like, so Priscilla, I took myself to therapy. I was so troubled by, like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, it was like, there was this belief in me that, like, if you would have said, do you believe men have to take care of you? Do you believe only men make money? I said, no, I'm a feminist. And the words fell out of my mouth. And I was like, wait, what? So it just like slammed me in the face that I actually was carrying my mother's belief and my grandmother's belief and the cultural belief and so much of the collective of the generation of women I came from. And I was being a hostage to that. I was living my whole life by that decision. So I went to NLP and had to rewire, like, women, money, and can I be a strong woman? And women, money? They can go together? And so, okay, so that was a huge, like, slap in the face. Another piece of it is around this time this was before I was still married. There's a woman named Laurel Langemeier. And Laurel Langemeier at the time was the premier money coach. Like, she talked about money, and she had this thing called the Big Table. And it was $10,000. And back in like 2003, $10,000 was a lot for a program. And so it was like, you could sit at the big table and be an adult with money. And I was like, oh, that program sounds so good. Remember, I'm still married. But we had so much debt. And so I had a coaching call, or like a prospect call, with one of her salespeople. And I was like, oh, $10,000. And I said no. And then my soul said to me, you're going to be working with women and money. And I thought, like, oh crap. Because remember, I didn't manage my own. And I'm like, what? I mean, I have to learn, like, investing in finance and stocks and real estate. That's where my head went. And I just was like, oh, that sounds terrible. And my soul said, just wait, you're going to be working with women and money. So I'm like, okay, put that aside, right? So I go through the hark, Cinderella's living in my head. I go through Cinderella must die phase. And what I realized is so much of what was wrong with me, besides the Cinderella, was that I didn't know, probably like a lot of people in your circle, because I was selling my services. And when you sell you, all your issues come up. The places where you hold back, the places where you're afraid to ask, the places where you've been shamed into not wanting to take up space or not wanting to be powerful, all that came up. So the gift of that is that it started to forge the work that I do today, right? So I talk about how to own your value. I talk about how to message. I talk about how to, like charge what you're worth. I talk about all this stuff because I suffered from it for so long. So this was also, we're coming into 2006, 2007, 2000. What happened in 2008? The crash. So my alimony that was this big trickled down to nothing. The 3 big marketing clients I had left. At one point I was living on my lowest month was $700. I brought in $700. That didn't even feed my 2 teenagers, or they weren't even teenagers, but it was just like, what the hell? So I ended up going through the process of losing my home, losing my car. I bought a sports car because, again, not managing. And I'm like, I just need a sports car in addition to my mama minivan. Who doesn't need a sports car, right? And so that got repossessed. The house got taken away. And it was the most crushing, like my kids, I could still cry today because it was so horrific, the stress I went through. And there was this time that I literally would lay in bed for like weeks, months, just paralyzed, just trauma, anxiety, because I didn't see a way out. I didn't see, like, it was just like, I'm losing everything. It's like in a minute, they're going to take the house. Like it was just, and I tried to make arrangements to get things refinanced, and they didn't cooperate. So it was like, I have to leave my house. I let my car go, had to get bankrupt. So I remember I'm laying in there in the bed, and there was like 2 voices, right? So there was this little kid part in me, or the scared whatever, that would just like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And then this other part that would just rise up and say, get up, just get up. You don't have a choice, and some people say, good, bad, evil, it wasn't that at all. It was just like, I found in me this part that was like, you will not quit. Like you can't get a job. You're unemployable. Like we all know that one, right? But it was fascinating. Like it was like, are you going to just succumb to some man's going to rescue you, or you just going to keep following the dream that you have been given? And so it was really this like, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? So I did it. And there's another kind of a cool part to the story. So 7 years ago in November is when my bankruptcy was, discharged or whatever. And my lawyer screwed things up. So I went to court in like September or something, and he didn't tell me to bring the right papers. So I show up and they're like, sorry, come back. So they set a different date. Well, that was the day I was flying to an event, professional event, actually David Nagel. I was going to a David Nagel event. And so I go from bankruptcy court, where that's pretty humiliating. Yes, I filed bankruptcy. I'm that. I fly straight from there to to this David Nagel event. And one of the now multi-7-figure coaches, you would know her name, who knew me, and I had actually coached a little bit and I had a relationship with her. I run into her there, and she says to me, oh my gosh, I see you everywhere and you're doing great, aren't you? And it was like, there's the truth and there's the facts. The facts are, holy shit, I like just 5 hours ago, I was freaking bankrupt. And yes, I'm doing great. I just thought that was a God thing. That was a little message to me going, you really are doing great. You really are doing great. So that was the first, like, okay. Whew. So then the next year, I'm in a coaching program, and we are crafting our big vision. So I'm a client, and I craft this big vision, and I break into tears, and I say, I can't go there because I filed bankruptcy. Like, what a freaking fraud I am. And all this shame came up. And so this woman that was a fellow client with me turned to me actually and said, I would far rather hire you knowing you have a bankruptcy, because you would understand, you would have compassion, you wouldn't judge me, you would feel more relatable and approachable. And I was like, what? Because I had so much shame around it. So 3 days later, my soul said, oh, you need to have a summit and tell the world. So I'm like, oh shit. So I created this Breaking Down to Breaking Free Summit, and I invited, like bunches of awesome, you would know them, to tell their breakdown stories, to tell their bankruptcy stories, to tell the struggles. And it was amazing. So then I was like, wait, I am helping people. I am helping women work with their money. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. And I didn't have to learn about stocks, right? And so it's a trajectory of this 10-year period where my soul absolutely guided me. And then of course I learned about money and energy and clearing. And it's jaw dropping how I got to go through bankruptcy, because I got blessed to learn those things. As I say, so you don't have to, right? I don't want my women's children to have to go through what my children went through, right? So it was pretty magical, pretty darn magical.
Yeah, the story alone is mind-blowing, and just knowing people that have broken free, broken through, survived, resilient, they're not dead, but they're prospering.
Yes.
Is just like, yeah, no matter what, you can just keep going, keep moving forward, keep listening to your soul, keep listening to those nudges, trusting and learning the lessons of whatever happens, right? There's always lots of lessons in there. So if you were to describe your relationship with money initially, to kind of how it's evolved into now, into what it's evolved into now, what would you say?
Yeah, so this was funny. My friend Michelle and I got Morgana Ray's, Money Alchemy book, whatever this was, like 8 years ago. And so she's this character, like the Money Honey and the Money Monster, right? And so Michelle and I were doing this together. And what I realized is, because this really was my experience. So I'd have a client, I'd sign them up, and they'd say, I'll give you my credit card tomorrow. And then tomorrow they'd say, shoot, I can't. Or I would have a client, I'd sign them up, they'd have one session, and they'd say, you know what, something happened, I got to pull out. So I would have this this experience with money. Before things kind of broke through, I was like, what the heck? It's like they would get close. Like I one time had 13 people in a row say yes to signing up and back in, like every single one of them. My coach at the time was going, this is bizarro, right? So I do this Money Honey, Money Monster book, and the Money Honey is the embodiment of how you want money to be, but the Money Monster is the bad thing we have with money. And at the time I was single, and as a fellow former single woman, those crazy dating things, and like, oh, I did that, I said that, I was like that. And so what I realized is my dance with money was the same as my dance with men. And what it was is, so my money monster was this like nerdy, ineffectual, like, oh, I like you, but I can't really fight for you. I can't get close to you. So I saw like, Jesus, I've been dating that too. Like, it's like everything in my life was about nobody's fighting for me. Nobody's taking a stand for me. Nobody's powerful for me. And I had this like, oh, yours kind of hard. I like this thing with men that I was doing. So then I switched my Money Honey into, you ready? You'll appreciate this. Antonio Banderas, who's like, who's like gonna throw me down and he's gonna pursue me, and like I'm like, oh, take me money, you know what I mean? So that was really fun to go, wow, look at the lack of receiving. Look at how there's this appearance of receiving, but I'm doing something to block the receiving, right? So I did a boatload of work on my receiving. So I still do a boatload of work on how much more can I receive, how much more. And so today, I kind of think of money as, I call it good and God. Money is love, money is energy, money is flow. I bless when I see the flow of money. I'm like, woohoo, people are spending money. Like I celebrate. And so I see it as just a good thing. It's a beautiful energy for me today, but it wasn't always that way.
Mm-hmm.
I had trauma. Like I when we were struggling with money, have you ever had this where you like look at your bank accounts and you're like, I can't even look. Okay. I went from there to like, oh, money, car. So, yeah.
Yes, I love that, looking at it as a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, a colleague of mine said that, if money were your lover, what kind of a relationship would you have? And I was like, yeah, well, it's always a work in progress, and awareness is really, and I feel like there's the mindset piece and also the practical side of things. Of course, that if you're afraid of money, the practical side might get affected. Like you're going to avoid, or you're going to not want to spend time with something because it's just not attractive.
Absolutely.
And it's all changeable, and there's so many resources that will speak to us today to get us to move forward. And today I want to talk about what you offered to talk about, which is really the embodiment piece of really embodying your message that can really lead to possibility and abundance and choice, which is really what Soul Prophet is, as it was given to me in the Akashic Records. And so and embodiment has definitely been a lesson, I think, for many of us. For me in particular, the last year and a half, having been given those soul leadership archetypes, as a body of work in the Akashic Records, and realizing that I not only didn't understand it, I didn't know how to embody that material, which was leadership. Because I'm sure that many of us might have had that feeling of, it can be a combination of fraud factor with, I'm a talking head, but I don't fully get it. I don't fully embrace this material yet. I don't even fully understand it, but it's here and it's something I want to get out into the world. So feel free to just start wherever you want with this in terms of, and if there are any tools that you want to share, and just some embodiment piece, which is so important.
So back up, a lot of my journey has been building one way and then allowing it to fall away, building up and just watching it crumble. Working in the masculine, when I first started, it was like, burn, 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 go, 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 go. And then we have killed adrenals, and it's like, well, hell, we got to figure something out. And so that's not working. And so raise your hand if you're like to that one, right? And so because I've had a lot of losses the last few years, right? I've had a few deaths and just a lot of kind of trauma stuff. And so what I have seen is very often you get here, like, okay, this is the business, right? I have these offerings, I'm known for this is the work. And then either life kicks the shit out of you, or you just grow, or sometimes both happen, right? And you look at that and you're like, like you invited me initially to talk about selling, right? And so now I'm like, it's not, I love selling. I'm so good at selling. I love to teach selling, but it's like, I'm not supposed to teach selling right now. Even though it was my favorite product ever, I'm like, I'm not supposed to talk about that, because I'm just following the energy, right? So because we are one with the universe, we're made of the same stuff as the cosmos and the planets. It's always expanding, evolving, expanding, evolving. And so why would we not? And so when I first started, the counsel was, create a program, and then by the time you run it 3 times, it's going to be profitable. You got upfront costs. I never can get to 3 times because I run it once and I'm like, I'm done. Okay, next. Drives my team freaking crazy. But I evolve so fast that I would rather do that than go, but I already built it. Come on, I've got all the autoresponders done. You know what I mean? So I created a new body of work almost a year ago, called You 2.0. Because my hypothesis is you can't take your life out of your business. Like you over here doing your life, you cannot, well, I guess you could. If you just have a hardware store and you're selling screws or something, you probably could. But if you have a service-based business like you all do, who you be is so tied in to the work you do. And so whatever you go through on this thing, it's gonna generalize over here. So You 2.0 is this. You've been here, and soul, spirit, life, God, whatever. It's like, ooh, we're supposed to go here. Like you, when you got that leadership thing, you were like, wait, what? I remember walking on the beach, you were freaking out, and I'm like, shh, you're fine. It's yours to do, right? We have a freak out, right? Because we're here, and life shows us like, yeah, that's cool and all, that was adorable, but really? And it's like, so sometimes there's a who me, like I can't, what, like am I split? Is it talking to me? Sometimes it's that because it's so big. David Nagel says new level, new devil, right? So you get to like, my thing was receiving, I could receive up to here, but this, I'm like, well, shite, I got to receive more. You're like, I thought I had it mastered. No, you don't have it mastered. And you're always evolving. There's always a part of you that's going, grow more, grow more, grow more, grow more, do more, follow your desires, be more, be more, be more, be more. So I call it that 2.0 version of you, right? Now, that's scary because sometimes what that means is this has to fall away. And the hard part is that it's not often a logical, well, I think I will drop that in January, and then in March, there are no calendars. It's not linear. It's not something you can, I just laugh, and you probably do when people go, well, here's the revenue for Q3 plan. I just go, ha ha, you could pull that out of the air. Right. That's a fun little exercise with your calculator. That's not how it really works, right? So very often the old you starts to disintegrate. It starts to fall away. The things you could stand on either aren't selling, either like, God, no matter what I do, I can't get somebody in the door for that. Or you just physically go, I cannot do that anymore. It just doesn't work. Okay. So that falls away, but this sometimes isn't in place yet. And there's that in between that can be really scary. And so that requires faith, trust, and surrender. And I know this has been your journey. We've spoken. This has been both of our journeys, right? You have to trust that you'll be cared for. You have to trust that you're guided in the right direction. You have to trust that, yes, there will be money in your bank account another day. You have to trust that you're not a crazy person for blowing up your business. And you have to have the faith to just follow the energy and surrender to what is. And sometimes, like you and I have been in this place where there's just a void. There is like, got nothing. Got. And it's very difficult because we want to like, and especially you talk to those people, it's like, oh, I'm going to this event and I'm got that. So what I just say, not my season, good for you, not my season. And if you can respect the season, if you can just go for right now, I'm in the winter, I'm in the dark, I'm germinating something. This is imperative. So those of you who are like overachieving doers, like your hostess and I, this kicks your ass. This is really hard, but it is an absolute necessary part of the process. You cannot think your way into embodiment. You have to allow so I'm just going to stop because you look like you got something to say because I got more. I could just talk for an hour.
Oh, I love it. And I think it's an important one. I would also say that a colleague had written on Facebook about these seasons. I think context can help, right? Because when things sometimes like the Tower card in tarot, which is like dramatic change, right? When there's just change or things just aren't working and everything, your flight and survival, what is it, fight or flight, survival, like I gotta do something, I don't want something's gotta change, and it's not working. Context, I have found, has helped, and that can come in many ways. For this year, oddly enough, I got connected to an astrologer who does astrological archetypes.
Oh, cool.
And so I take astrology with a grain of salt because I don't like to feel like I'm handing my life over to planetary influences, but energy can influence things. Yeah. And I remember her saying at the beginning of this year, Priscilla, everything in the foundation is going to go to shit. This, money will be significantly withheld. Lies and misalignments and truths will be exposed. And this is how you will learn. I think Saturn went going retrograde 4 times this month and all kinds of other shit. And I was like, for me, that's what I needed was context. And also understanding cycles and seasons is another way to look at it. And also when the season feels like winter, this void, this empty abyss where it's just this, it's, I think just remembering that it is a fertile, pregnant pause versus a barren pause, right? Because initially I'm like, shit, nothing's happening. Yeah. What if nothing happens, right? But it is happening. It's just, there's the ego mind of like, let's get things going, comparing, the fear. However, so allowing the season to milk the most out of it can really help. And whatever helps, at least in my case, to understand context. When she said, look, this is how you're going to learn, because any other way you wouldn't pay attention, I was like, well, that is the truth. You know, so, okay, so let's see this as a gift and not be the victim. It doesn't mean there aren't tantrums, there aren't dark nights, there aren't, what the fuck, you know, I did not sign up for this shit. I have no idea how this is all going to play out.
Yeah.
And that's where we grow, right? That's why it's so fertile. But resisting more than allowing is just making the process harder, I would say.
Yeah, and I think there's two words that come into play. One is reinvention, and the other is evolution. And reinvention, because I recently remodeled this house, right? So reinvention is, oh, I want this floor. I go to the flooring store. I pick the sample. I want that paint. Like, it's a conscious place that I choose from. That comes in, but that's what we want to do. We're like, oh, I'm just going to rebrand. I'm going to reinvent my... If you're a conscious soul-based business owner, what happens is actually evolution. And evolution is the pushing out through you. Sometimes it's almost like, whoa, obviously you have consent because you gave it to your soul, but it's almost like, I'm supposed to do what? Right? So once you get that, and then you can kind of, what I say to people is sometimes it's not time to put form around it, right? Because everybody's like, I gotta package it. How can I monetize? And like, shh. You got to live it. You got to, and for most of us, like for me, I have such integrity as a value. I got to be the poster child. You too, right? We got to be the poster child for our work. We have to let it work through us. Generally, often the thing you were here to do is the thing you have had to overcome, right? You've had to process through and learn this, so then you can be the guide. It's not a cognitive, like, well, I read a book one time about the 4 steps. It's a lived, like, I got this. You know, so with my clients, I can go, oh, sister, mama's gotcha. My clients call me Mama T, right? Because I got it. So you allow this evolution to take you to where you go. And then when it's time, you're like, oh, I could put a little form around it. What? Like now I'm getting to, okay, I know what my next mastermind offering is going to be. Now I can reinvent because I've lived through it and it's now grounded in me such that I can go, oh, that's that program. Cool. But if I start there without it being in here, it will just fall flat. So the process that I use is a 3-step process. It's called, I should name the process, but anyway, the steps are align, clear, and embody. Okay. So the first thing, and so remember, this is for like the you 2.0. So you're going through this journey and you know there's something else for you, right? So you align to whatever it is. What is the mission? What is your soul calling? I do a lot of what I call like connect to the soul of your business, like visualization. What does your soul want for you? What does your business want for you next? What does your body want for you next? What is your, you know what I mean? Like really hearing that and then being in alignment with that. And sometimes that means if I align with that, I got to let go of this, or I got to look at all the other places that I'm not in alignment. Okay. So we get you to go, that's it. Okay. Boom. But what I know is you're going to mess it up. Not because you're a bad person, but there's so much stuff, right? And so then the next phase is now we clear everything because, you know, access stuff. Like 95% of the thoughts and beliefs you're carrying aren't even yours. And very often there is this, there's a lot of collective energy. A lot of, you know, like, oh, I want to do this. And then the unconscious, like, really? You know, like I had an experience years ago when I worked with a different coach. I worked in a different coaching company. And I saw that person change. And I saw some of the ways they ran their business that I didn't think were very ethical. And unconsciously, I made a decision, I don't want to be like that. I made a decision, oh, money changes. That person went from this, you know, spiritual, kind, loving person to somebody that I didn't want to be like. So here I am going, I'm gonna be in a multi-6-figure business owner. And then that other part's like, yeah, but you don't want to be like, I had no idea that lived in there. That's called a conflicting intention, right? So part of me is like, I'm a yes. And the other part's like, not safe, because it could change you and you could turn like that person and then you'll be an asshole and lie to people. And oh no, we're not doing that, right? And so whenever here's a way to know if you're out of alignment, like stop, start. That is the number one indicator You've got something unconscious going on. So you're like, oh, I'm all set. Shoot, I forgot to send that email. Oh, I didn't make that call. That's one. There's many ways to discover if it's a hidden block, but so you have to clear, and that's how for you, when we broke you free of selling, we went deep. Woof! Like we had past life traumas.
It was like, oh good God, where the hell did that come from? We were literally in the Middle Ages.
It was pretty crazy. We were like, oh, good Lord. So I have my little pendulum, and I'm just like, yes, no. And so that's how I discover it, is like, because I can tune in and we can free what you're carrying, what you're holding. But you have to understand is just because you say like, yes, like I'll give you an example of, so a client of mine lives in Italy, and she's like, you must come to Italy and run a retreat, and I will set it up for you, or I'll help you with it. And so she says, I've got a venue for us. It's here. And it's this, very serene place on a hill. And I'm like, hold on, wait, hold on. God, a little bit of a big thing, right? And I wanted to do it. Who wouldn't want to go to Italy, right? And I'm like, there's something off. And I could feel it. Like my head wanted to do it, but it's like it wasn't coming in, right? It was like, there's something off. And I realized what was off about it. It was, the venue, and I wanted a different experience. I wanted more like Angela's, where there's like tourism and not just sitting on a hill, right? And that was an example of that is such a great idea, and I want that idea, and it could happen, and I'm supposed to do it, but it's not getting in. So sometimes you don't even need clearing, but sometimes it's like, it's not quite aligned, right? So you figure out the thing, then you align, then you're like, okay, what's in the way of this now? What's blocking this? What's costing, or what won't allow this to happen? And most often it's unconscious. Shocking. The next place is, then you embody it. Okay. So like when I have my retreats, what I have the women do is this process, right? And so then they do this art project where they write their, who they be, and they stand in front of the room, and I just go, like Simon Cowell, like my American Idol thing. I'm like, do it again. That sucks. Do it again. And I don't mean it as a judgment. What I mean that is it very often they're like, and I'm a world-class leader, and I make lots of money, and I help people. And I'm like, Jesus, no, get it in your body. And so then we do the work to like, woof, be that. So the word embodiment is kind of a weird word, but when you are or when you're not, right? You can feel it, because it's just a talking head versus it's mine to do. There's not even a question. For me, it's when you're embodied, it's your soul. It's just not even you. Like when I show up being like, well, it's not like Therese Skelly is the bomb and she's in the house. It's like, I'm just doing my soul work, and I channel the shit, and I don't even know what I'm saying, but it is so like, woof, because it is so purely moving through me. That's the embodiment piece of it. And you can tell it's not, right?
So evident. And I remember when I was talking to Alex about this, because when I was talking to him, I was like, honestly, I mean, I'd heard about archetypes when I was given, I was like, what the hell is it like how do I explain this shit to me? Why? I was so angry. And I remember Alex just saying to me, he said, Priscilla, it's an accessing of an energy that's already within you. When he said accessing energy, I was like, oh, so to me, when I think of embodiment, it's like, yes, you've got to be in your body, not in your head, not outside of yourself. So come back in. And then it's an energy, right? Because that's where you say you feel it. It's palpable. The person doesn't have to say a thing.
Yes.
It's like a soul to soul, energy to energy connection that just speaks volumes. And for leadership, for business, for contribution, for philanthropy, whatever it is that we're looking to do in the world, embodiment, I think, is that core part of inspiring, of influencing, which I see as leadership, of contributing. Right. Because it allows you to be fully present, fully connected, fully there, as you would say, fiercely here, with where you want to go next. And it is about an energy. And I think that, talk about purity, energy doesn't lie, right? We can sense it, right? Even if we don't know exactly what it is, at least we know if it's off or if it's there.
Right.
And so there's no faking it. And it can also push us into the edge of where we're not allowing ourselves to receive that energy, to be. It's about a being. It's about that being.
Right.
And but also knowing that that energy is already within us. It's probably just still allowing of that to be there and to let it come out and shine.
That's fabulous. Yeah. And, so let's talk about messaging, right? So
yes.
Messaging is how you talk about your business, like what you're known for, right? You notice my messaging, I swear I'm a little sassy. I'm kind of animated, even though I'm Irish, I'm not Italian. So my being is the message, how the words to describe the energy, the feeling, the experience, the brand, that's messaging, right? And so unfortunately, it's really seductive to follow a 7-step formula for a 6-figure. Like, it's so freaking seductive because marketers can be predatory, and we have the like lazy ass in it. It's like, please save me, please tell me what to do, please. And just don't, because nobody can give you your own, like, this is a process that has to be midwifed out of you. It's not like fill out 3 handouts and boom, we've got a message or a brand. And I'll give you an example. I had a client that was, she was so fun. She was red hair, sassy, fiery. And she had this like really cool story, like religious abuse. She'd been in a cult and like she had really horrific shame and stuff around this. And so her message was some like related to people robbing your, taking your voice and taking your freedom and like kind of empowering stuff. But her story was stunning because you don't hear that kind of thing today. And she had this great story, and fiery, sassy, bright woman. And I looked at her website and I was like, who the hell let you out of the house wearing this? Like, what? And she had gone to, a colleague, you would probably know her, who was well thought of in terms of helping people with their websites and their messaging. And a colleague, this woman she went to, said, oh, you should be a law of attraction coach. And her site had like lavender and lotus flowers. And I just was like, did she ever talk to you? Like, did she take the time to speak with you? Because Lordy. And what happened is she got really triggered, the client, because she had so much shame and comes from this, thing here. She didn't want to tell the mentor, like, you're not hearing me. This isn't working. So she paid a boatload of money, never sold anything. She hid her site because it was so misaligned. So what happens is we often listen to people and say, oh, you should say this. This would sell. You got to have red on your website and you should package it this way. But if it's against what we're supposed to do, even though it's an easy fix and we crave the like, somebody please give me my message, it's and you can feel the misalignment. Like for her, it literally, she never even rolled it out. She never sent anybody to it. She was completely ashamed, but I think she paid $5,000 or $6,000, never got a thing out of it. So the reason why you don't own the message is, number one, it's scary. Because if you're really being true to you, like when I first started, my photos over the years, because I've been in the game a while, right? I was in the black suit, with the black
I
suit.
Imagine that. I was like, well, that's one version of you, but that's not the Therese.
Black suit version of me. Yeah, because I thought I wasn't enough, because I had just been a therapist. I wasn't enough, so I had to dress it up and put the suit on for credibility.
Mm.
And so we come to this with, am I enough? Or could I really say that? Like, could like the first time I started swearing live, every time I'd swear, I'm sorry, I apologize. And I'm like, hell with it. I swear, that's who I am. And I actually got my clients would say, I hired you because you swear, like, you're like real. I really relate to you. But it was, and the first time I said God, the first time I said prayer, the first time I brought in the spiritual part of me, I had the same, like, they're going to, So when you get your messaging right, it's so vulnerable because sometimes you're polarizing. Sometimes you say, like, you're talking about soul stuff and archetypes. What? And you started in health coaching, right? So like, it's easy to tell people how to do their diet and how much to exercise. That's easy. That's socially acceptable. This version of you, the path isn't as paved. Do you know what I mean? So who you have to get to just go, this is my work. Sometimes it's a little like, how the hell do you talk about embodiment? How do you talk about archetypes? Like what? It's not as, here's how to build a website. Here's how to sell shoes. And so you're up against it. You're up against fear. You're up against, a lot of people don't want to be seen. A lot of women in particular don't want to polarize. They don't want to take up space. They don't want to have strong opinions. Look at Serena Williams in the media right now. What's happening to her? We don't want to, like, our archetypes are like, shh, just be a good girl. Just get along. Just, oh, come on. Don't be. And so you bump into all that. And so you have to like work through those things to be able to say, this is my work. This is what I got. This is my offering. So I just want to talk about some of the blocks to the getting your right message and the embodiment of it. So.
How have you navigated those changes? Because you've come out even more, with the spiritual side of the work. Yeah. And sometimes I'm just like, we are energetic beings. We are spiritual beings. And it's so funny, right, that we live in a culture where woo-woo feels almost like a liability versus not the norm, whatever, that's my rant. But, we talk about spirituality, we talk about consciousness and energy and all of that. And it can be scary, because I usually, when I talk about soul stuff, it's kind of like, does she know what she's talking about? Who are you to be talking about this? My brain goes like, but you can't, like the linear part of me is like, but you can't quantify what you're saying,
exactly.
Can you?
Exactly.
So how am I supposed to believe any of this, stuff, right? So how have you navigated this? Because you have, and it can still be an unfolding and unveiling a process, which is fine too.
So 2008, I was in a coaching program, and I would go, I'm a marketing coach, but I really want to be a mindset coach. I'm a marketing coach, but I really want to, like I used to say, would I rather stand on stage talking about split tests and headlines and marketing, or would I rather stand on stage with Wayne Dyer? And I'm like, every time, transformation. And my front door is always business. It used to be marketing, right? So you come in for marketing, then I would work with mindset. And it just got less and less and less and less. And I had a woman come up, you probably know her. She came up to me about 7 years ago, and she said, until you start saying that you're a healer, you are not going to make any money. And I'm like, are you, oh, Jesus, woman. Like, you crazy nut.
You crazy nut.
They're going to kill me. And I just poo-pooed it. Like, oh, you're business healer. Yeah, right, whatever. Little did I know she was right on. And then I had my friend Dan, who works with healers, say, you're a healer, right? And I was like, no, I just know stuff. But what was happening is I was downloading, like I have this whole process that I've downloaded this whole healing system, but I still was coming from not enough. I was afraid. And Dan said, just being in your energy is healing. I was like, what? I didn't put it together because I had to overdo, I had to overgive, I had proving energy. And so I was like, no, I'm a therapist and I know stuff. Well, I know stuff because I know stuff. It has nothing to do with freaking therapy, right? I know stuff because I'm guided and I'm like, brr, and I got my little pendulum, but I didn't claim it. And so I was in this like, oh, I'm scared. Like I would do the work and then go, like you and I, we had like a few sessions where like the places I took you was crazy. And all my therapy training didn't teach me any of that. Like that's the intuitive gifts that I have. And so I just started seeing more data, more like the first time I was with a client and I was muscle testing and they said it's a curse and you can clear it. I'm like, I don't know how to, wait, what? I don't know how to clear a curse. And they go, yes, you do. And I'm like, well, shit. Okay. And I cleared it. Right. That's an example. And I kept being surprised. Like I would say, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. And now I'm like, oh, that's what it is. Right. And so it's been a gradual, because right now, 95% of the work I do with my clients, now they show up and do, can you clear me? I'm blocking things. We have colleagues that, I work with and they're like, can you just check? I didn't get the sale. Can you see what happened? And I don't, go the silly script, I go the energy, I go the maybe you have a past life thing, maybe you blah, 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 blah. So just more time, more time, more time, more time, and just now accepting that this is the work. And it's still scary. Like, I'm in a minute going to blow up my business. It's not going to be called Happy in Business. It's going to be called Therese Skelly. And I'm not going to be like, I'm a marketing coach. Yeah, I might teach as marketing, but we're going to lead with embodiment. We're going to lead with the spiritual stuff. We're going to lead with the transformation. And that's still scary. Like, it's not like, but I'm doing it because I can't not anymore. Right. So it's just a process. And a lot of it, Priscilla, is a reflection of other people. Right. That's the thing. It's like, other people tell me what they saw when I couldn't see it. Other people challenging me. One of my girls, Stephanie, is just like, you will never make the money on the business mountain here. Like, you're over here, get on the spiritual mountain. That is your mountain to be on. Get off the freaking business mountain. That is not your place. And I'm like, but I'm so good. I like it. And she's like, get over there. And so now I can kind of blend them a little bit, but it really is other people in the beginning. That was how I navigated it.
And we take baby steps, right? It can feel a little wobbly at times too. We I have a colleague here. I've known her since I moved to San Diego three and a half years ago. And, she was this very reluctant mystic, right? And now, every time we go to lunch, she blesses her food. She's just like blessing her food. She's just muscle testing everything. It's just natural. I said, okay, now you're living it. Like, this is you. You're denying it, and what did I call her? I said, she'll come here and we'll do clearings too. Like, I'll do readings for her, and then she'll come here and I said, you're like my witch on call friend, right? So she has her pendulum, she have her oracle deck. We also learn to do the body and the emotion code, so we can clear that stuff, which is really cool. So like, we were like, okay, what's going on now, And so that's something also that I want to mention really quickly. In the archetype work that was given to me is the mystic archetype, which are the light workers, the consciousness activators. Is that the lesson for us to learn, and inevitably we do learn, is that our energy alone, the container that we create by just our being, doing nothing, saying absolutely nothing, transforms. Yeah. And so being in the energy is very powerful. Of course, we know we have the tools, but we also have the syndrome of, 5 more certifications later, I'll be ready to charge more, be better, be enough. No, the energy is infinite. It's ready. It's good now, right? So there's just remembering that. And that inevitably, mystics are teachers, and we likely end up teaching people how to fish for themselves and to trust what they know. So that they can go and teach others and be more empowered themselves, right? I say we teach them to fish, not just to give them the fish ourselves. So, any last words that you want to say? We had a really cool, yummy conversation before you share your free gift.
If it's yours, I didn't used to understand the concept of desire, and I didn't used to trust that what I was guided was the next step. And so I'm learning, and I'm really deepening whatever my intention is, it will come. And so if you have the thing in there like, God, I'd really like to do that, you just got to know that that's yours to do. And then the work is becoming the steward of that work. It's not 36 certifications later. It's managing your energy and trusting and getting the support and literally taking care of, like, body, what do you need right now? Like, who do you need? What do you need? Like that's way more important. Your being is so much more freaking important than you're doing. And so if you got that little dream in your heart, don't let anybody tell you you're wrong. Don't let anybody tell you you get a job. Don't let anybody tell you like, well, that's not going to fuck them. Don't let them do that to you. Don't let anybody do that to you. If it is yours to do, Spirit will show you a way. You just have to say yes. That's the thing. You have to say yes. For me and my bankruptcy thing, it was like, I'll lose everything in the world to follow this. I have no other choice. Make it unequivocal. This is the path, and say yes to it. And then you will be guided. But until you say yes, you can't have both feet. Like, you can't have a foot out and foot in and I'll do it if it's safe. Like, literally just stand there and just go, okay, use me. I'm a yes. I'm a yes. And then life can take you. But you got to get there first.
I like that. I like to say I'm a yes, and to be willing. Be willing to
Yes.
release, let go, say yes, say no, be willing, just be willing. Yeah. And if you don't know how to be willing, just say, God, Spirit, just show me.
I want to be willing to be willing.
Help me be willing to be willing, because right now I'm just resisting, and that's okay. Yeah. So you have a free gift.
I have a free gift, so I love this gift. This is about messaging.
That's good.
Yeah, I figured it's about messaging. I thought you would like it. It's called the Fiercely Clear Messaging Assessment. And I love me my dog. I've got the coolest little dog. Her name is Finley. And so what I did is I got really creative with this free gift, and I made videos of messaging mistakes. So one is like, are you being like just a barking yappy puppy, right? And it shows Finley like, so you'll get to see my cute dog. And so it's like, here's a messaging mistake you're making. Here's why you're making it, and here's what to do instead. And it's not like a super long, it's like, 4 10-minute videos, which I like because
I love your videos. They get to the point, and they really do change things.
Right. But I don't want to I'm not going to listen to 75-minute videos times 5, right? So it's an easily consumable product. And so for the messaging, it's because you don't know, are you being a skittish puppy? Meaning, are you afraid to put yourself out there? Are you just following the pack and listening to everybody else? And so it's quite creative with the puppy world and then the messaging world. So it's called the Fiercely Clear Messaging Assessment. And it'll show you if you're doing this, this is what you need to do instead. So it's real clear and real fun.
Oh, I love that. That's really, really good. And what's the URL for it? What's the link?
happyinbusiness.com/fiercely clear, FIERCELYCLEAR.
Okay, beautiful. I love it. Thank you. I really appreciate everything we talked about. And I'm so glad that we talked about this, because the messaging and the embodiment piece, for there to be resonance, for it to land, congruence, the energy, it has to be there. And honestly, I still don't feel like I'm there with myself either. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, to watching that and seeing where I land in the assessment, and then what some tweaks are. So thank you for making it. That sounds really good. Well, thank you, Therese, for spending time with me and for sharing your magic today. You can go to happyinbusiness.com, fiercely clear. And if you just go to happyinbusiness.com, you can learn so much more about Therese, her programs, marketing, mindset, clearing, selling, all the things that she does. She's kind of a one-stop machine for business coaches, healers, mission, service-based entrepreneurs. Thanks again, my love. And what else is possible, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, babe. It's great to be here with you.
Okay. Bye.